brain slews, slick with ectoplasmic juice.
Ecstatic energy, a fire that fuels our memory.
What genealogy with spiritual topography?
Questions for your answers, we are data necromancers.
So the article you sent me last night, I remember having a bar regular telling me about this whole, there's like a something you cook the cheese on that
the raclette thing
that certain immigrants have, and they're like, yeah, you melt the cheese on the,
it's like a brazier for cheese, a cheese eater.
it's like a different version of our fondue, and then they swipe it and put it on
metal plate with a candle
potatoes
under it or some shit.
yeah That's exactly what it is.
Sick.
The cheese.
Well, it was funny because I walk in today and you're gobbling down cheeses and Lucas is
eating meat,
rocking some sausages. I'm like, that's exactly what I just sent you.
I was like, no.
What kind was it? It looked red.
I don't know.
Sausage?
Sausage?
I fucking love sausage so much. I think pig is my biggest impediment to cross if I wanted to become vegan.
It has every part of the pig's body is a beautiful delicacy.
I know, and they're so cute and smart. It breaks
That makes
my heart.
me want to eat them more personally. Like I remember petting a cow and it was like a big dog, and I was like, "You're so tasty."
But
if dogs tasted that
how does that make any sense? You don't want to eat your kids
We don't eat humans in general
because it's taboo.
and I think it's bad for you. Or no, that's just the brain.
Right.
You can't eat your own brain.
You can't eat brains because then what are those cells called? They're not the dendrites.
I don't know, but I like whoever invented this universe was like, you can't eat the brain.
Sorry, don't eat
And
that.
also you
That's
can't,
not food.
your family members can't fuck each other either. Like that's built into the paradigm.
And for some reason, fucking people thought it was chill, like to carry on their families.
Magic Toaster says prions. Is that?
That's it. That's it. Thank you, Toast, and fuck a duck. Screw a pigeon.
Sorry, we were talking about you can't fuck each other.
Oh, why the incest taboo? But then like people who wanted to keep the dynasty or like the kingship within their own families would fuck their cousins,
and
fuck
then
their
they'd pop out
sisters, fuck their whatever,
and then they'd pop out
and they
deformed
all had
people.
anemia and like they're fucking frail and not long for this world. I'm just thinking about Anastasia and her Russian family.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Anastasia.
I went on. So let's start this episode off right. I went on like a crazy journey because I realized that the fodder for the podcast
Pot fodder
is just what we talk about off camera, and I take those things and we try to expound upon them.
This is interesting. Let's dig a little deeper.
Because it's the whole reason why we started the podcast was because you'd come over and we'd sit and we'd talk for a long time
like, you know what's some fucked up shit, dude?
And I felt like you're the one person on earth that I can like vomit all of my stuff on, and you're right there with me. You're right there with me. You're gobbling it up the way a good friend should.
Aww.
So last night I went on this journey. I started with Smash Mouth. I didn't know that the lead singer was dead.
Oh, rest in
died.
peace. He was a good friend of Guy Fieri.
That makes sense. They look very similar.
Yeah, they seem to espouse similar values.
They're cut from the same cloth.
Yes, perfect idiom. Nailing it. Here, put a scoreboard.
He died. How many years we've been doing this? Just one. I got one. And then I went to the origins of the modern Santa Claus. And I like how Coca-Cola busted its fucking nut on everybody. It was like, no, we came up with him.
That's false.
Yeah, it is false because everybody's like, no, this one guy did.
It's like an
Like,
urban
there's
legend
proof.
that Coca-Cola invented Santa Claus.
And then, but everybody believes, Lord Chancellor Coca-Cola. And
CEO of CEOs.
And then I found out that there was they discovered this gigantic city under a Guatemalan rainforest with LiDAR that had almost the population of New York City. And then I have pulled up 4 ways to heal our broken healthcare system. And the number 1 is cause disruption. And I was like,
Let's fuck it up.
I'm already so mad all the time. We'll go into that later.
You gotta take your grievances higher, though.
I know, and I was looking at how to do that, and
You need to erect a tent outside someone's office.
Nobody knows.
Fucking shit in their breakfast every morning.
Jungle penetrating lasers reveal thousands of ancient Mayan structures.
The Maya.
Yeah, dude. They knew what was up. Okay, 61,000 ancient structures, including houses, large palaces, ceremonial centers, and pyramids.
Is there a name for this newly discovered city?
Let me look.
Is it Catal or something similar?
Man, they transformed their landscape on a grand scale in order to render it more agriculturally productive. Dude,
What was their agriculture?
I knew what was up.
It was teosinte or maíz, right? Had to
Yeah.
have been. They're the ones who were like sacrificing people and giving tortillas to the gods.
We're talking about the inventors of chocolate. Like, they weren't adding sugar to their chocolate, but they did have practices in making it sweeter or spicy. I mean, they were all about the cacao.
And it's so good for you.
Yes.
Full of fiber and whatever those.
So you can now get ceremonial grade cacao. And there's a woman in my spiritual group who recommends a certain brand. It's expensive, of course, because you have to buy like a little cube of it or whatever. But I told her I was having issues with migraines, and she said, sip this shit and it will go away.
Whoa. That reminds me, Erin told me the other day, we both had this woman named Chef Jenny for pastry. And Erin said, I was like, Chef Jenny puts it on my Facebook wall for my birthday. And he was like, oh, that's nice. What I remember about Chef Jenny with it, she had the best hot chocolate Erin had ever tasted, and she would not reveal the secret ingredient.
It was cum. It was cum, ladies and gentlemen. It was heaping loads of old cum.
And I was like, Erin, should we kidnap her dog and hold him for ransom till we get that recipe, and then call her up and be like, Chef Jenny, you have to give the recipe, the secret ingredient to your hot chocolate, and then we will give you back your dog.
Erin was not about it.
No. I'm sure he could figure it out through trial and error.
Erin never says shit like that, so that makes me think that it's really fucking good.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact that he remembered that is telling of its specialité. So, wait, are we going to go visit this newly discovered city ruins?
It's underground.
So we need to spelunk?
So we need to dig. However deep LiDAR looks. Does anybody on stream know how deep LiDAR can
Magic
see?
toaster.
Magic toaster.
Perform some calculations. Por favor.
I wish the Mayans were right in 2012 too. I remember I went and visited
That would have been nice.
I just want everybody to know that I'm brain dead today. The cookbook. No, the fucking Mayan calendar. I went and saw it.
The big round thing.
I stood in front of it and I was like, why weren't you right? Or I mean, I'm sure our interpretation of what was happening is far off from what they were talking about.
Yeah, what if it represents some other form of reality that has expired?
Or just the decline. They're like, this is when it'll start.
Even though they all dissipated at a certain point due to smallpox.
Used to be this Orthodox rabbi who would declare the end of the world outside of the bar I used to work at in Minneapolis, and he would stand out there screaming how the world was going to end. And he was like in full garb, like
a Hasidic
black.
Jew.
It was all black, and he had a different kind of hat. He may have been Orthodox something else, because it was just so. And I don't know why he chose in front of my bar.
Grumpies?
Yeah.
I don't know, but Judaism just strikes me as the most apocalyptic faith on earth. It's always the end of the world for
everybody.
Judaism.
Yeah.
But, I mean, all of that has bled over into Christianity too.
Yeah, are people over it?
No, I don't think so.
God damn it.
I think a lot of people still consider the end to be quite nigh. Could be. Or I think the more realistic outcome will be that we cling to life until we fizzle out, instead of a big bang.
Summit says it was probably under tree canopy, in which case LiDAR would definitely pick it up. Let's see. That makes more sense.
Tricanopy.
It says, hidden below Guatemala's lush Petén rainforest lies an ancient city not touched by humans for more than 1,000 years, but in its heyday it was home to millions of Mesoamericans who built a sophisticated, sprawling empire. Now, for the first time, a team of international archaeologists has discovered and mapped tens of thousands of ancient structures using airborne light detection and ranging technology, LiDAR. So that, I just read underneath.
Under the jungle, which means invisible but not underground.
Okay, so not underground, but just under impenetrable.
In
fucking.
betwixt. That's so dope. I mean, that's exactly the image that's conjured in my mind when I think of Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull or whatever.
I want to know more about crystal skulls, and the internet was like a bad place to research them because it was all like either fucking not true.
Do you ever go to like JSTOR or like a scholarly article that's peer reviewed?
I try to find. It's just hard.
They're not
though.
As free as all the clickbaity ones.
As the,
they're not as accessible
as the headline grabbers.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, it says LiDAR, type of airborne laser scanning, provides a powerful technique for
Sharks
three-dimensional
with laser
mapping of
beams.
topographic.
I think you said
Topo Chico.
topographic.
That's crazy to think of. I mean, I guess it's like when we go to Costa Rica, it's like hard to build a road, so they spray molasses on everything. And then you're like, why are my boots covered in fucking maple syrup? That's molasses. You're like, whatever. It's sticky.
Wait, why? They try to keep the dirt particles to stick?
Yeah, and then they always do it, and then it rains, and then it's gone, and then they have to do it again. And you're like, y'all ever heard of cement?
Yeah,
but the ground down there is just so fucking...
Because of the jungle?
Yeah, I think it's a terrible place to try to...
build infrastructure.
Yeah.
But I was so thrilled that we went to that little petting zoo thing, and both of those spectacularly gorgeous humans who led us around their little farmstead were like studying engineering in the city with dreams to make their country more accessible.
Instead of the rich only being the ones to afford driveways.
Yeah. They're like, we're going to figure this out for our country. Like, fuck, yes. That's amazing. I love you. Here's money. Let us take pictures with your horse.
Yes, I scraped myself and had at that farm. I found like it was like a petting zoo, but it was also like a farm on the side of the road of middle of nowhere, Costa Rica. And it's so nice to have Lucas, who speaks fluent Spanish, and they were describing everything, but there was like just a lot of shit everywhere, and I scraped myself on this rusty thing, and I just assumed I was going to die.
Immediately got lockjaw.
But I was like, that is from I'm in an unfamiliar place, but had this been a rusty piece in Minnesota, I wouldn't think twice about it. You're like, yeah, whatever.
You're like, oh God, I've got the ancient disease.
But I feel like the jungle is cleaner, and well, I don't know.
I think it renews more quickly. Like the turnover is much more.
Yeah, and it rains more, and I don't know, versus.
Yeah, as far as like stuff hanging around and festering and growing, maybe not in the jungle, because everything just gets gobbled up and recycled really fast. Like you would think that the jungle has a really good layer of topsoil, but it does not, because there's so many competitors for nutrients. Anything that falls is almost immediately cycled back into the biosphere, the all the little creatures.
Full Metal, why is it 1,000% more dirty? It wasn't in a jungly space. It was
like a
it was
farm.
in a
It was like a little
open-
farmyard.
Yeah, it was cute.
But I think anytime you sort of hold animals in a fenced area, it
It's
gets
gross.
yucky.
It's gross, yeah. No matter what part of the world you're in, it's yucky.
yucky.
That's where a lot of human suffering has started.
Ooh.
Was in the farm
Yeah, their
realm.
proximity to cows and pigs and shit. That's why there's so many religious prohibitions against eating pork, because they're seen to wallow in their own filth.
Yeah, don't they eat their own shit and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, but have you ever had really good charcuterie? I told Megan yesterday I was at Costco gathering stuff for a cocktail class I taught, and there was a $90
Jamón serrano, or maybe it was jamón ibérico. It was a Spanish ham.
it was leg. It was a whole leg for $90, and it came with the special knife. I was like, I could have charcuterie every day for like probably 6 months.
Jamón is something that is coveted. It's like there's like some particular pigs called pata negra who
There
have
it
like the Blackfoot pigs, and they feed them on acorns. So their jamón is like even more special.
It was Serrano, and it came with the bone in.
Nice. Yeah, because it was like propped up, and you just slice off thin pieces.
It's got 5 out of 5 stars.
How could it not?
How could it not?
It's wild that the leg of a dead creature is so delicious.
I have wondered that because I remember going out to this place called Enchanted Rock, which is, we should go there. Have you ever been there?
It sounds really familiar. Maybe there's a place in Virginia also called
It's
Enchanted
like 2
Rock.
hours away from here, and it overlooks a fucking desert. It's exactly like the Lion King, where the meme of the monkey throwing Simba off of the
I think he
cliff.
just shows them to everybody. He doesn't
Yeah, but
throw
I
it.
like the meme of him throwing. It was like so seamlessly replicated. It's insane. It's insane out there. But we brought like cuts of meat to grill, and I had to run to like this. Who are the camping people that oversee things in state parks?
Park rangers.
Park ranger, thank you. They had like a little station. He's like, oh, we've got like this teeny store. There's some fire starters there. I was like, fuck, that's all I need. I forgot that thing. We got fire starters, loaded it up, found a bunch of fucking cedar wood, lying around. Made one of the best steaks I've ever had in my entire life.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was so close to the cedar. It's like this teeny grill.
You get some yummy smoke flavor.
Oh my God, it was super smoky. It was crusted. It was fucking rare, medium rare.
Oh.
And we didn't have forks either.
Don't need.
We had a knife. That's all you need. And I remember eating it being like, why? Why when I expose this to heat, is it an ethereal fucking snack? It's like, it's not, it's what drives us. It's like we needed it to be smarter. Like if it wasn't that good, we wouldn't eat it. And
Yeah. Well, I think that selection has to do with how good it is, though. Because I don't know if like the cow's precursor in the wild was quite as delicious, but then we noticed when they were really delicious, and we propagated those types of cows.
Speaking of which, somebody has just brought to light, I was Sarah, who's my pastry chef friend, dropped over
Her houses looked amazing.
they're insane. She does the inside of them too. She makes these gingerbread houses for charity, and they are like,
The windows are really,
they're like actual
immaculate.
houses. She came over and dropped off passion fruit Pop-Tarts, apple cider bread pudding with caramel sauce, and white chocolate rosemary cookies. And I found out she got into pastry cookie or being a pastry chef because she just didn't like doing graphic design. And I was like, you're this good at cooking pastries? But it's because she loves it. And that's all that matters. Anyways, I was telling her, I was like, oh man, I don't know if I've got this, if Lydia is picking up on my dairy aversion. And she's like, well, apparently people who eat and drink raw milk and raw cheese do not have any sort of dairy allergy. And then she started talking about the history of which cows were genetically propagated 100 years ago.
Oh, like the milk producers. They produced a lot of milk.
Yes. And how she went and described their genetic makeup and why the allergy happens. And I sat there because I'm postpartum being like, wait, could you go back and tell? Wait,
the proteins
A1
and
was
the
A2?
enzymes.
So, and she said, yeah, if you leave a cup of raw milk out, she's like, it will turn into yogurt. Because she's apparently only been using raw milk for a year or two. Mm-hmm. But it's funny. I was like, well, I thought a lot of diseases pass through. Like, there's a reason why we outlawed this. Mm-hmm. But then I'm thinking, I'm like, I asked Aaron, our chemical engineer friend. He's like, yeah, 100 years ago, there was X amount of breakouts in cows, people died, and now it's 100 years later and it's not like that. You know, you could probably get a lot cleaner raw milk. And now I'm curious to see if I would have the same reaction.
Where can we get some raw milk?
She's got the plug.
Oh shit.
She's got the plug. She takes where she sources her ingredients she's also sort of a prepper, but she preps like we've talked about before, where I don't want to hoard shit. I'm going to run out of shit. I want systems. I need to make friends with the suppliers of the things that I want so that when everything collapses, you just still have access to all this stuff.
Yeah, you sort of have to anticipate a bartering system. Like, okay, what can I offer and then get in exchange from these people who are the producers of the more important things?
She has sourced heirloom varieties of rice that actually have flavor and nutritional value, because then she started talking to me about the history of rice. And
that's so cool. I didn't know she was a history head.
And I was like, wait, oh yeah, the homogenization of not only our culture also affected our food.
Hugely.
In a way. Okay, I hate to call people out, but I had somebody last night in the class who's like, I don't know if I can have that, because she was pregnant. And
Right. I knew that would stick out.
I was like, yes, because we need to be told exactly.
I need to consult a professional.
But here, when I was told I couldn't have lunch meat, I looked into that and went, oh, this is fucking bullshit. Huh. You're more likely to get listeria from the nacho cheese at the gas station than you are from fucking turkey.
Huh. Why is that? Because of the constant hot temperature?
I think the nacho cheese is a perfect
substrate for microbial
for deadly. I think
it's the toxic color. It attracts really.
I mean, just what is it? It's not cheese. It's something else.
Several different emulsifiers, some flavor enhancers.
Lettuce is another one too. Lettuce has been, and then you find out that the reason why all the lettuce is fucking polluted is because that's
E. coli, right?
But it also is listeria. I think there's also another fucking listeria outbreak from cantaloupes that are from Mexico.
When you get your food handlers, you learn that lunch meat, cut melon, those types of things that you think are innocuous and
are actually they
actually are capable of harboring a lot of microbes, good and bad.
Lucas grabbed like some apples yesterday at the grocery store, and he's like, you could see the wax on them. And it's suddenly less appetizing. I know it's there. I know the edible wax is there. It's the only way it survives transportation. But then you start seeing like news come out about Bill Gates using this edible wax that is harmful. And I think the transparency aspect is like a lot of things are harmful, but it takes X amount of years in order for it to get to the public, in order for us to know.
Or X amount of concentration of the substance.
Right. And America is one of the only countries that operates on this. Yeah, if you only feed people a percentage, versus other countries are like, yeah, but it's cumulative.
We don't want it in our bodies at all. Like, we don't want to take that risk.
Right, because in America you can eat X amount of fruits and vegetables that all have a legal amount of it.
Yeah.
But other countries consider the fact that your whole dish is full of that, but we don't. Which leads me to the other thing that we fucking brought up in our... This is all... We talked about this in a span of like an hour or two last night. was how the life expectancy in America is going down.
And we're supposed to be the leaders of the free world.
Well, and I looked into that, and it's our access to healthcare, obviously. And I'm somebody who has access to healthcare, and it is still an outrageous shit show.
Yeah.
In Costa Rica, where the life expectancy is growing the most,
Let's go.
they have access to not only healthcare, but they've implemented this new system. And I remember Aaron's like, so we are friends with Drew Barrymore's personal doctor in Costa Rica. And that doctor was describing this. It's not revolutionary, but it is to us as humans. They have a system down there that tracks sicknesses, illnesses, ailments by region, right? So up here, Americans would, hammer their own hemorrhoids, screaming it's a privacy invasion. And you're like, I don't care if you got STDs from the hooker that you fucking banged. We want to know. We want to see the data, right?
Is that endemic diseases, like to one specific area, like why they're happening there?
And the doctors who now have access to all this information saw that, like, oh my gosh, this part of Costa Rica is suffering greatly from XYZ. They researched it, found out what was causing it, sent certain specific doctors to figure out what was going on because they got a bigger picture. Meanwhile, Lucas and I are like, I just got done being sick for almost 8 weeks, and we're hearing everybody else is talking about how sick they've been. So it's like we knew something swept through Mueller.
Yeah.
But we have no idea what it was, and we don't care, and we shrug and we go, well, whatever. But because we don't, not only is going to see just your primary care doctor a fucking nightmare, or we just had to walk out of the pediatrician's office because our insurance wasn't active, and so they handed us this form, this self-pay super bill. And I was like, no, we pay $600 a month. I cannot afford to pay you $600 right now and then wait for you. Like, why? Why is this so insane? And that's me, a middle-class person who can make phone calls and read the fine print. Just getting absolutely butt-fucked at the pediatrician. So we walked out, and then they're pissed at us. And I'm like, no, you should have told me before coming in here, because I'm not going to fork over cash.
Right. That's absurd.
I've spent that already on adding another human to my useless insurance. I thought Lucas was going to go on a rampage. He's so mad.
Vein in his forehead. I was thinking more about what you said about the knowledge of like different endemic diseases, like regionally.
Yes.
And how is it because in this country, in our country, we have this like myth of privacy where you don't share people's medical.
I fucking love that. I'm like, do you have this in your pocket?
Right.
Do you have this?
My next point.
It shows you specialized fucking cartoon pornographic ads generated on your last 16 Google searches. Don't fucking bitch to me about your privacy shit.
Right.
Also, if the cops want it, they're going to take it. I mean,
privacy is a myth.
Yes, it's a myth. And the phone company's going to hand it over. They legally have to. Like, shut up.
Right.
Also,
so
what are you
tell
hiding?
us what you're suffering from. Tell us.
What are you fucking hiding?
How many hemorrhoids do you have in your butthole? Do they live in the butthole or outside the butthole?
Around the butthole.
On the whole, Preparation H feels good. Jeez, brother. I need to say a little grateful prayer that I've been healthy, wealthy, and wise recently. I often forget that when I'm not sick, I'm not sick. And I feel really great. And I am not worried about anything. I was thinking the other day that it's been a while since I was sick. And then I had to knock wood to make sure that it doesn't propel me into some sickness just by noticing that I wasn't sick.
Lucas, in his very wise healthcare professional demeanor and just the way he thinks, he's like, you're not allowed to go to any indoor play places for the next 3 months. And I was like, makes sense.
Especially during this season.
Well, it's just been like whatever I just had was fucking gnarly. Although I do think after having COVID, like, my lungs are
Do you think they'll ever be the same?
I don't know. I also have asthma, so I'm just kind of doomed.
You've got a lot of those, what do they call them? Comorbidities?
What else do I have? Asthma? What else?
I guess just the fact that your system's been ravaged by creating another person.
Will it make me stronger?
Being a pregnant person makes you immunocompromised.
Yeah.
That's tough. I mean, I just talked to my friends Gabe and Ellen, and they were all, like, Gabe, Ellen, and Holly were all sick for months.
They had what we had. You know, it's like...
And Holly got it from daycare, whatever. Or not daycare, whatever they call baby school. I don't know.
Isn't that daycare?
I guess. Maybe.
My neighbors had to take out their older child because it kept putting their younger baby in the hospital with how many illnesses he was bringing home.
What does take out mean?
They had to pluck him and she had to quit her job.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
but
nuts.
I'm like...
That seems drastic.
Thinking of having small children and both parents being gone all the time sounds so expensive and so crazy, unless obviously you have family helping, but
yeah,
it's impossible. Erica has nobody helping her, and I'm like, oh, it's so tough.
I often wonder about Erica and whether she ever has any time to think about herself.
No, she told me if she slows down and stops, that her whole brain is on fire. So she never stops. And I was like, I bet you there's so many people operating from that space. Yeah. You're just constantly trying to distract yourself so that you don't fall into the pit of despair.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I have fallen into a huge... I texted my therapist today. I was like, I need to come back. The crushing weight of entropy is too much to bear by myself. And she's like, I miss you. And I was like, oh, I miss you too. Oh. You bring home smaller baby. Older baby seems big.
Older baby big.
Older baby is different. Older baby has gone through a huge growth spurt in the last 4 weeks. Her head is bigger. Her hands are bigger. So that's like tearing at you. And I have to, rock my baby to sleep as I throw the other baby in bed and be like, just go to bed. And then you're like, oh man, the time's up. So there's that. And then like the in-laws were in town and they both retired. So they're both entering the last phase of their life. And Lucas's dad was like kind of opening up about how is he going to find purpose and meaning anymore if he's no longer in charge of, the hospital that he works at. And I was like, oh.
Ikigai.
Which is what again?
It's your purpose. It's like why you get out of bed in the morning. It's like 80-year-old Japanese people who are still, grinding down swords or like making sculptures or weaving grass mats. You have to have a reason to do anything,
Yeah. And I was like, oh man, when you've spent the last 25 years working morning, noon, and night, and you don't do that anymore.
Well, that's why a lot of retirees take up hobbies. Like, you need something to center your focus on and work on. Otherwise, you just sort of fizzle out and die early.
So it was like a supernova in my living room of all of that.
Yeah, and it's like every stage of life represented.
I can't handle that. Like, Lucas and I were just like super tender about all the change that was happening, and then I'm staring at the spiral on my newborn's head. I'm like, it's like a supernova of change, and it never stops. And then the seasons changed on top of that. So it's like really a transformative. And we just cried for like a week straight. We were just like running around, hiding around corners, and just crying the whole time. Running in the closet.
How did you find ground again?
I have to completely break open. I will let it consume me. And then there's been a lot of grief about like my dad's gone and my dad chose a weird selfish hill to die on. So I got to watch like Lucas enjoy parenting with his parents around, and I'm just like, oh, that must be nice, kind of. Like, because he has really loving, super supportive parents, which you don't ever see anymore. They're like a fucking albatross.
Yeah. Dodo.
What is it? Yeah, or whatever bird is going extinct. And then just like my mom choosing alcoholism over these like really awesome grandkids. You're like, wow, what a weird place to be.
I think going back to our life expectancy, our declining life expectancy in our country, I think estrangement is also on the rise.
Yes.
Where families are blasted apart and then would prefer not to.
Which only makes sense if there's a lot of
Generational
abuse.
trauma.
If there was a lot of abuse or emotional abuse, it's time to stop. I had to stop catering to my mom. I just did not have the capacity to do it anymore. And
well, when you've got 2 babies,
I can't.
And then your mom wants also to be a baby. It's like, well, I don't have any mothering for you because you're my mother.
And she gets mad. She got very mad about that. So it's like, I got by, and it's sad. It is estrangement. And I don't know what the alternative would be, I guess, to like put a foie gras style fucking ayahuasca into your gullet and just like close it and push you into the woods, roll you down a hill and be like, I'll be back in 16 hours.
I hope you figure it out.
Are you done drinking yet? It's ruined everything.
Is it all she's ever known as well?
Yeah, I think so. She's had bouts of sobriety.
Oh, I didn't know that. I guess a lot of people who experience addiction have that recession and then progression. It's so easy to slip and fall, and then slide back into old habits.
Full Metal says our generation doesn't believe in unconditional support for the family, and I mean that in a good way. It's like, yeah, I can't roll out and pretend like you don't say horrible, vile shit anymore.
There's no reason for you to put up with that.
We can't do that anymore. We do have to say, I'm sorry that you want to keep operating this way, because they do have the choice to stop.
Right.
That is their choice. We don't have to carry all of this weight for them. Like the 50s are over.
Yeah, you have to believe in a person's individual sense of responsibility and power to act and to change. Otherwise, society doesn't work.
I told my mom that. I said, I'm not 1950s style sweeping this under the fucking rug and we're going to pretend like nothing ever happened. And I made her brain freeze.
No shit. Because you're like forcing her into the sunlight, whereas she's a fucking clam in a shell that will only open for its little siphon.
She rainbow beach balled for like a solid 3 to 4 minutes. I was like, oh, oops. Me just telling you that I'm not doing that anymore.
That was your signature truth bazooka.
Yeah, just saying like we're not pretending like nothing ever happened. Like that. But that's how Erica and I have let her fucking roll around for 20 years. We've let her just like, oh god, I'm not even gonna bring it up because it's gonna start World War III.
Right.
And then you create a monster. People don't want to create monsters anymore.
We need to weed out the monsters and retrain them, rebrain them.
Yeah, I don't know if that's possible, but
when it's not possible, you just have to save yourself.
Yes.
And your family, which is beautiful and young and thriving and intelligent.
Chosen family, on the other hand, man, those people fucking show up for you. I've got Hannah. Shout out Hannah. Hannah's like, I want to come help. I'm
Yo,
like,
what up, girl?
What?
How you doing?
She's gonna fly in from Baltimore and help me? I'm like, that's fucking
She is?
family. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We're gonna have her on the pod.
Oh, hell yeah. I'll sit in the middle of the table.
Yes. You can hang like Spider-Man. And twirl slowly.
And then you both kiss me like Mary Jane.
We'll just like kind of pat you back and forth.
Sounds more like Batman to me.
Batman?
Like an actual bat.
Oh, okay.
You know, hanging up in my cave.
Val Kilmer, Batman, George Clooney,
Keaton.
Batman, or Michael Keaton?
Michael Keaton. I know you choose Val.
I just like how, like, what the strangest casting choice for that.
Hollywood heartthrobs. Well, I prepared some notes for us.
Sick. We have 14 more minutes.
Great. Let's see here. I'm coming to the end of my notebook.
Do you keep them? You must keep them.
This one I'm definitely going to keep. It's got so much good stuff in it. So I was making some notes. Oh, wait, maybe this is 63. I don't know.
I think it is 63.
I have notes for 63 and 64.
You're supposed to be a record keeper.
On my calendar, we did 63 last week. Who can say?
Who can say? Do you
Maybe
guys
I had
know?
notes that I never referenced. I was talking to my brother the other day, and I was like, dude, what would you want? Like, what kind of food would you want, like, if you could have any food? And he was like, dude, ramen packet and fudge rounds. And it made me remember fudge rounds so vividly. Did you ever have fudge rounds?
Fudge rounds were round and made of fudge, and then they had like a dry ass cookie in the middle.
They're incredibly moist, and like they had fudge.
Dude, I was too broke for that shit. I remember.
It was like a Little Debbie.
Yeah, like thin ones.
Yeah,
Thinner
but it was
ones.
a sandwich cookie, but it was almost like brownie-like. Fudge rounds. Look it up. So I wanted to ask you what your favorite
Oh, no. Never had one of those.
childhood snacks were.
Do they still sell them?
I think so.
Yeah, you can get a case of them for $60.
Yeah, they're made with all of those hyper palatable food chemicals.
Those hyper palatable embalming fluids.
So when I was feeding myself in my teens, my main hits were like ramen packets, 4-cheese freshetta frozen pizza, mac and cheese box, and I would also get like chicken tenders that I would grill, like raw chicken tenders that I would grill on my George Foreman grill and then dip them into bottled teriyaki sauce. Like that was my main snackies. And I always made this stuff for myself. So I was wondering if you had a similar feeding yourself experience. Because I would just come home from high school and like eat a whole pizza.
I remember my cousin was a chef, and I would come home and watch him eat the weirdest fucking things. I remember him dipping Ritz in chicken bouillon.
Like like concentrated?
The powder.
Oh, whoa. That's how chicken in a biscuit is made, though.
He's like, you ever had this? And I was like, no, I want to live to see my geriatric
like,
period.
Oh, it's so salty. Like burns. It's so salty.
I have zero, like you say that, and I have zero memory of like any food that I ate.
That's fucking interesting, man. That's fucking interesting. That was a note from last week, I think. So I wrote this morning. What impacts the unfolding of reality the most is not the truth necessarily, but what people believe is the truth. Because I was researching Christmas, and I reflected on how some evangelical Christians have like fought against like the Xmas thing, like keep Christ in Christmas. You know what I mean?
Even though it's like you tear it, you crack it open, the hard-boiled egg that is Christmas, and you go, yeah, where does Christ come into this? Because he has nothing to do with Nicholas of Myra.
Right.
And
But he does in a circuitous way, because he was a saint.
Oh, sure.
Who,
who saved children from being prostitutes.
Exactly. So he's a Christian martyr. But Xmas specifically is like the first letter of Christ in Greek is X. It's key. It's so like key row it's like the X with the P coming out of it. That's like a predominant Christian symbol from when Christianity first took root in Greece or whatever. And that was like the standard on Constantine's army's battle shit, the key row. So like ancient Christianity is Xmas.
So, but they're fighting. So I love this because you and I have talked about writing the actual constitution of what people actually mean.
Oh,
because
yeah,
they're fighting or they're bitching about the wrong. You're like, no, here's what you really mean. You hate anybody who's like woke. I thought, and dear stream, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought woke used to be. This feels really good. For some
That's a
reason.
good stretch.
Yeah.
Pop it.
Does that feel good for you?
Oh yeah, baby.
Oh yeah.
I like
Ooh,
that.
Ooh.
You don't get to do that very often.
I think I'm turning Japanese. I'm just
Walk
Good
like an
thinking.
Egyptian.
That's the song. That's the song that it meant to grab and didn't grab.
You chose a Far East.
What are we talking about?
So the
what?
yeah.
So I thought woke used to mean like, oh, you got the conspiracy, like you're QAnon. Like I thought that's what it used to mean maybe 10 years ago, and now it's been applied to liberal ideology. But to me, it's not even liberal anymore. It's like beyond. It's
So are you referring to like
But there-
wokeism, like like people who are rewriting history as they're like trying to give platforms to like black and indigenous people of color? Like, is that what wokeism is?
I think that's what it means now, is like you're trying to shed light on stuff. Oh, you're so woke. But now I feel geriatric and it might
So-
be completely wrong.
You're like trying to buck the patriarchy, and that's woke.
Yeah, I think that's
It's like, how dare you
I think
challenge
that's
the
what
status quo?
the extreme right. See, now I feel like the extreme right and the extreme left.
It's a very muddy.
It's 100%. I'm going to prove this somehow. If fucking disinformation, CIA, it has to be, because it doesn't make any sense what's happening.
There's
Anyways,
just this cacophony of people who disagree, and what are you even disagreeing
No,
on?
nobody knows
misinformation. What?
but that's what they're fighting against is, oh, you're trying to make Christmas all inclusive. You're whatever.
You're taking Christ out of Christmas and turning it into this marketing scheme all about presents, whereas December 6th is the original saint day, the feast day of Saint Nicholas, and that tradition of giving gifts to children age 5 through 12 was very popular on the saint day of Saint Nicholas, December 6th. So Martin Luther was like, fuck the cult of the saints. We don't need intercessors between us and God. We don't need to pray to saints. What is that? So he de-emphasized the importance of the saints as intercessor, and so he suppressed...
Do you think that was a good thing or a bad thing? Or neutral?
I think it was a thing, a big thing. But it also got rid of the principle of purgatory, but that's like for another day. But he decided, like, we can still give gifts to our children. Let's do it on Christmas in the name of Jesus. So he was sort of formative for the Christmas holiday to be gift given. Like this Protestant guy who's like struggling against the supremacy of the papacy. And that seems counterintuitive to me, that he'd be like, let's give gifts on Christmas. Whereas it's not just about Jesus anymore, but he wanted to incorporate that cultural practice that was so strong, but sort of get rid of Saint Nicholas. But he sort of perpetuated him.
Okay,
in a way.
so what happened? So now we idolize he goes by saint, but he's not, right? Like our modern day Santa Claus is not a saint, right?
Well, he's an amalgamation of all these different historical figures.
This is what it's like to not have any culture, ladies and gentlemen. Like,
We're like trying to parse
America.
out like why these things are meaningful. I spent so long this morning reading about semiotics and like symbols and like the power of symbols, because excuse you, the symbol of Santa Claus is very powerful, and it delivers different messages to different people who sort of collapse the wave function and like gaze upon him. It's like, Santa Claus means this to you, Santa Claus means this to you, and he's like this amalgamation of all these different figures, like the Dutch dude Sinterklaas, who is like a pagan, green-robed kind of like gift giver,
6 foot tall.
yeah, like a giant man who like brings gifts when it's the dead of winter.
I like how saving children from prostitution was so progressive that it became a legend.
It's fucked that it was such a selfless act. And it, like, why did he have to do that in the first place? Because the laws of patriarchy and sort of what is supposed to happen to your daughters were that strong that a father was going to sell his daughters into prostitution. That's society 101. It's so fucked. The expectations of people in a society. So, let's see.
So fucking little kids has just always been the crux of everything evil.
Well, women have that two-edged sort of societal role. It's like the infantilization of women, like women are always weak and helpless or whatever, but they're also always sort of childbearing and seen as, you know, the vessel for the seed. So I was reading about semiosis, the power of symbols.
Next time I see a group of biddies, naked biddies walking down Dirty Six going to get, I'm like, look at all those seed vessels.
Look at you want to bear my seed, baby?
Babe, just bear my seed just a little bit.
You bear my seed. Bring my seed to fruition. I was also reading about superstition. So I was reading about superstition because the prefix super, it doesn't mean like ultimate or extra. It means like above. So superstition is like knowledge above what is actually observable. So it's like a leap beyond what is observable. I can sense that we have to stop. So Rubidia.
Yes.
He's gonna give you the bitty baby so you can go get the. Oh, Erica! Hi.
Look, she has risen.
Hello. There they are. I had one last thing about Christmas. This was pretty wild. So in the early colonies of the Americas, there was this tradition of wassailing where you would go, it's like caroling sort of now, but you would go around.
But you would assassinate everybody who opens their door.
And like roughhousing, and it was all about just like entering into people's homes and effing up their S. And there was a ton of shotgun weddings that followed because there was so much premarital sex because of Christmas wassailing.
Hold on, you're talking about a carol style.
It was like the
orgy?
lower classes, they would get wasted and just like cause a ruckus and like bust into people's houses and impregnate their daughters. And then
that sounds terrifying.
The Puritans were anti-Christmas because of these traditions, and that's where shotgun weddings were created. Because it was like, you got my daughter pregnant and now you have to marry her.
Where was this happening?
The early colonies, the 13.
In America.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. That sounds right. It was all happening in the Appalachian region.
A little further north, but yes. Or wait, they stretch. Can you see her?
Do you see that small skull on the far side
of
the bed?
Yes, I do. Good baby.
Good baby.
Good baby.
I've got a house full of babies now.
All of a sudden. I wrote this down. I think the rational mind can get in the way of feeling or of instinct, which is why some train to subdue it.
I watch, even in a newborn, instinct ruin everything. Like, the instinct is what's keeping the baby awake. Because they're like, they feel skin, they're like looking for the boob, but they're not hungry. And then, but you can tell that the rational mind is so desperately tired, but they keep getting triggered by these strange things that make them habitually act.
Are instincts genetic?
Epigenetic.
What's that?
Passed down from memories stored in our DNA.
Oh, memories in our DNA.
Ancestrally and just even like on a...
Can you guys hear that?
even just on a, like our parents level. Like Ruby does stuff that I did as like a teenager or whatever that's very specific to me, but it's that stuff is.
But do you consider that instinct? Hold on.
What do you define an instinct?
Let's
It's
look.
encoded in her DNA.
Seems like some kind of natural reaction. And that is such an umbrella
Sure.
term.
Innate fixed pattern of behavior.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Something that she's not consciously doing, and it's encoded in her DNA because, like, from us, but also I think it goes back further from like being afraid of things in the dark and monsters as like being preyed on by
Right.
predators.
Absolutely. There you have it, folks.
Do you think being afraid of monsters is epigenetic?
It's genetic.
Yeah.
Well, sure. I mean, yeah, for thousands of years we were hunted at night, I'm sure.
Yeah, just like being a mammal, we have all of these traces of, oh, that thing moved. What the fuck was that? Kill it!
Nothing has ever happened to our kids or a kid that makes them scared of the dark.
No, but suddenly it just fucking happens, and then for the last 3 months I've been meaning to buy Ruby a fucking camping lantern because I'm like, it's daytime out. Oh, but the hallway is dark. I'm like, okay.
Fear of the unknown.
Actually, I blame the animatronic Texas Chainsaw Leatherman at Party City.
He's too tall. We're petitioning to make him shorter.
Ruby keeps bringing up, she's like, I saw the man that bought him. Why did he buy him? And I'm like,
Whoa.
to scare people like you.
Dang. It's stuck in her little mind
I want
grease.
to. Well, it was gyrating with this giant
Chainsaw? No shit. That's
and we
terrifying.
were just looking for a spider pinata, and here it altered the course of her life. And now it's. She asked me about Leatherman every other day. Why did his face get like that?
Are you
And I'm
going to
like,
show her Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
No, because this gyrating chainsaw wielding lawn ornament has already.
Is she wiggling?
No. Oh yeah.
She's squirming, doggy.
Oh, God, Murphy. He can feel the cameras. He can feel the eyes of the viewers. Lucas and I do need to stream because we have been going on so many diatribes and just a lot to say. Just a lot to say lately.
There's so much to say. Can you say hello in the microphone? Hello.
Say dabba-doo dabba-dee.
Yeah, baby.
All right, guys.
The babies are here.
Full Metal, do you need me to change the time of this pod? Because I can, now that we've configured some bottom sprocket times. I've configured some doodle times. They're a bit different nowadays. Oh, you're good. I thought somebody else was complaining about the time. Summit, you good? Magic, I know you good. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Nobody look at me. All good. Oh, all right.
Rock and roll. He's already back?
No,
Oh, he's just leaving.
he must.
Is that your Auntie Whitney?
I look like your mama.
Look at her.
How freaky is that?
Look at her. Look at her.
Oh, okay. Fine. This time works for people and it works for me.
Rock and roll.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
God, I feel better. I always feel better after just complaining to the
Yay!
moon and back.